What happens in the world and its nations?
South Africa,
in Samarkand, Uzbekistan.
reporting from New York for WION.
Creates ripples across oceans.
As things appear to be quite tense, given that the protesters are just not backing down.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Race to Power, where we talk about everything elections. I'm Ananya Datta and this is what we have lined up for you. The state of Colorado has given a big blow to Donald J. Trump. The Supreme Court has disqualified him from the primary race. So what's next for the Republican poster boy? Stay tuned to find out. In Bangladesh, the opposition has launched a non-cooperation movement. It has asked officials to reject election duties, and to the people, it has asked to not pay their taxes. Is the opposition overestimating its support? A professor from Dhaka will answer that question for you. All right, speaking of the big man, Donald J. Trump has made history again. And not one that will go in the good books. Colorado has banned Trump from running for next year's presidential elections. And this has made him the first candidate ever to be disqualified under the insurrection clause. Now, before we get into the politics, let me tell you about the legality of this. Colorado Supreme Court has used this clause, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which basically means that any act of insurrection can disqualify someone from office. In this case, Trump has been accused of inciting the 2021 Capitol riots. Now, there are three questions mainly central to this clause. First, if Section 3 actually applies to the presidency. Second, whether Trump's behavior before and on the day of the riot actually caused the rebellion. And third, can courts disqualify a person without any action by the Congress? Now, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that the answer to all of these questions is actually a yes. What is also important is that the ruling only mentions the state's primary election, which is slated for the 5th of March. So this ruling does not stop Trump from running in other states. This is absolutely crucial here. The former US president has blamed the Democrats for ruining his reputation in the guise of election interference. Now, Trump's team is going to appeal to the US Supreme Court. Remember, the US Supreme Court is in its most conservative form in almost 90 long years. So there is a strong possibility that Colorado's decision could be overturned in favor of Donald J. Trump. Now, there were similar attempts to kick Trump off the ballot in New Hampshire, Minnesota, and even Michigan. But the courts there failed. Whether Colorado's decision will have a domino effect legally, now that remains to be seen. But political rumblings have already begun. In yet another acknowledgement of Trump's surging popularity, his own rivals inside the Republican camp have slammed Colorado's decision.
I will withdraw, I pledge to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary ballot unless and until Trump's name is restored. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley do the same thing.
What I will say is this. I do not believe Donald Trump should be prevented from being president of the United States by any court. I think he should be prevented from being president of the United States by the voters of this country.
Now, to decode this big development further, we are being joined by Ray Locker, senior journalist and author from Washington, D.C. Mr. Locker, thank you so much for joining us here on WION.
Thanks for having me.
My first question to you is straight. Who do you think is gaining the most from this decision by the Colorado Supreme Court?
Right now, I think it's Trump. It's a propaganda victory for him. I mean, I think legally, the Colorado Supreme Court is on solid ground. I mean, by all indications, Trump did support an insurrection. And this was an amendment that was passed after the U.S. Civil War to keep people who led the Confederacy from seeking elected office in the restored Union. I mean, Trump did lead an insurrection on January 6, 2021. But the main issue here is it has not been proven in court. And that's the main stumbling block. If he was convicted of this crime, then I think it would be easy to say, yeah, he should be off the ballot. But because he has not been convicted, that makes it complicated.
So in that case, do you see the other states following suit?
No, I don't. And I think this is going to be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, and 3 of those justices have been appointed by Trump. Now, I don't think the Supreme Court really wants to weigh into this, because if they do, they set a precedent that says if you have been involved in some type of insurrection, you can run for federal office again. I think what they'll probably do is say the key distinction, which I mentioned before, is whether you have actually been convicted of that crime. And that's, I think, the technicality that they'll hang any kind of ruling on.
Right. Mr. Walker, since you said that this might actually play out in favor of Trump, do you think this will actually unite the supporters of Trump even further?
Well, there's been little that has shaken their support. And his opponents, with the exception of Chris Christie, have been very reluctant to go after him. And I think many people agree with Christie's assessment that he should not be beaten by a court, but he should be beaten by the voters at the ballot box. And really, in the end, that's what it's going to have to take. If you don't want Donald Trump to be president of the United States again, you have to vote against him and vote for whoever's running against him, whether it's in the primary or in the general election in favor of President Biden.
All right, Mr. Locker, thank you so much for speaking with us and decoding U.S. politics for us.
Thanks.
All right, let's shift our focus now. Bangladesh's main opposition, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, has launched a non-cooperation movement against the government. It has urged people to boycott the January 7th elections. The BNP wants Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to immediately step down and make way for a neutral caretaker government. Now, this is to ensure free and fair polls, as the opposition claims. Now, the party's acting chief, Tariq Rahman, announced the decision to launch the non-cooperation movement on Wednesday. Apart from elections, the party has urged officials and people from all walks of life not to cooperate with the government. The politicians specifically requested officers and even employees on election duty to refrain from carrying out their responsibilities. The party further alleged that a list of election winners and future MPs has already been compiled. The party also appealed to the people not to pay their taxes or utility bills from now on. Further, the BNP has asked its leaders and activists not to appear in court in what it calls false cases. BNP's protest rallies witnessed a massive surge in recent months, but it is not clear how they will respond to the non-cooperation call. Now, to understand the situation better on the ground, we spoke to Professor Imtiaz Ahmed. He's a faculty of international relations in the University of Dhaka. Listen into his insights.
I think if I can understand the public, I think either the public were not at all concerned about this call, and some who follow politics, I think they were a little bit puzzled. I guess the main reason is, there aren't too many people, supporting whatever they have been doing in last, from October 28th onwards. You don't see people at all, even the blockade and the hartal that they have been calling. No one is listening to them. Today also was a hartal day, but everything was moving. I think they're playing with the media to some extent, and they're playing maybe with the international community to some extent. Definitely, I think the ruling party has substantial support. One cannot deny that, given the work that they have done from 2009 onwards. That is there. But I guess as a student of political science, I would say what is probably lacking is the goal of opposition party. It doesn't go beyond, releasing the leader and bringing back the second leader who is abroad. You don't see an economic plan or a social plan or educational plan, nothing of that kind.
Now, just a few weeks from now, Pakistan will have its new Prime Minister. Even as the cash-strapped country continues to deal with its long compounding miseries, a debate has broken out over who is behind Pakistan's woes. Now, well, according to three-time former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, it's not India or the United States or even Afghanistan. It is the country's very own army. Now, Sharif has blamed the military establishment for Pakistan's economic downfall, saying that they shot themselves in their own foot, and the PMLN Supremo has also castigated the country's judges for legitimizing military dictators.
We have made things worse for ourselves. We have brought Pakistan to this situation. No one else is responsible for it. Nor India, nor US, Afghanistan. No one has done this against us. We have shot ourselves in the foot.
Sharif made these remarks while addressing his party, the Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz, as it gears up for the upcoming general elections in February next year. Now, the 73-year-old leader also recalled his oustings. Remember, he has been overthrown from power 3 times, in 1993, 1999, and then again in 2017. Since his return to Pakistan in October after 4 years of self-imposed exile in the United Kingdom, Sharif's comments have seemingly rejected a softer approach towards India. It comes amid the election frenzy in the South Asian country, which has been traditionally laced with an anti-India rhetoric. Earlier this year, PTI leader and former Prime Minister Imran Khan also seemed to have opted for a similar approach. He had said that India is surging ahead while Pakistan is stuck, reasoning that political engineering is weakening the country. Khan had also pointed towards India-US ties, warning that the growing power of the two countries is an alarm bell for Pakistan. Meanwhile, the Election Commission of Pakistan has begun receiving nomination papers from candidates intending to contest in the February 8th polls. PMLN Supremo Nawaz Sharif has obtained his nomination papers. Sharif will contest from a constituency in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. While currently jailed, Imran Khan is also expecting to contest from 3 constituencies as per his lawyers. Remember, the nomination papers can be filed till the 22nd of December, which is not far from today. Now, for more on this, our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik has sent us a report.
The process to file nomination papers has begun in Pakistan ahead of the 8th February election, and the process to collect the nomination papers has also kicked off. Now, with that, Nawaz Sharif's nomination papers were collected on his behalf by his son-in-law. Additionally, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's nomination papers were also collected. Nawaz Sharif is likely to contest elections from Mansehra, Shehbaz Sharif from Lahore. Both are former prime ministers. Imran Khan, on the other hand, it's still dicey for him to contest elections. His lawyers say that that he will be contesting elections simultaneously from 3 seats, from Miawali, Lahore and Islamabad, but it is yet to be known whether he would be allowed to contest elections or not, given the fate of his cipher case trial. On the other hand, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari will be contesting elections from Larkana, which is their family seat, and his father, former President Asif Ali Zardari, will also be contesting elections from Nawabshah. They've all taken their nomination papers to contest from their respective seats, and the last date to file the nomination papers before the Election Commission is the 22nd of December. Anas Malik in Islamabad, Pakistan for WION World is One.
Let's shift our focus to India now. The row over a suspended Indian lawmaker mimicking the Rajya Sabha chairperson has exploded. Indian President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended their support to the Rajya Sabha chairperson Jagdeep Dhankar. Ruling Bharatiya Janata Party MPs also staged protest outside the parliament in solidarity with the chairperson of the upper house. Meanwhile, the opposition camp is continuing its protest outside the parliament against the suspension of a record 143 MPs from both the houses. A suspended opposition MP, Kalyan Banerjee, was seen mimicking Dhankar on Tuesday as the opposition staged protest on the stairs of Parliament against the suspension of lawmakers. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi was seen making a video of the performance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed great pain over what he termed the abject theatrics of some MPs in the Parliament complex. President Draupadi Murmu said that she was dismayed to see the manner in which the Vice President, who is the ex-official chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, was humiliated in the Parliament complex. Now, Mukherjee, the Trinamool Congress lawmaker at the centre of the row, said that his intention was never to hurt anyone. He further claimed that mimicry was an art and that even the Prime Minister has done it in the past on the floor of the House.
Mimicry is not unknown to anywhere. But I didn't have any intention at all to hurt or disrespect any person, including the Honourable Vice President.
Rajya Sabha Chairperson Jagdeep Dhankar said that he will not tolerate any insult to Parliament and the post that he holds, adding that he is undeterred by these kind of acts. Meanwhile, the government is passing key legislations in the Parliament even when 143 opposition MPs remain suspended. 3 momentous bills to replace the Indian Penal Code, Code of Criminal Procedure and Indian Evidence Act were passed by Lok Sabha today. The showdown comes months before the national elections expected in April next year. Now, ahead of the 2024 general elections in India, the unity efforts of the opposition India Alliance seems to be already coming under strain. The challenges became evident at a recent meeting of the bloc in New Delhi, when the Chief Minister of the state of Bihar, Nitish Kumar, lost his cool with DMK leader T.R. Balu, who asked for an English translation of his Hindi speech. Expressing frustration, Nitish Kumar asserted that Hindi is the country's national language and everyone should understand it. According to the Indian Constitution, India does not have a national language. Nitish Kumar's outburst, however, continued for several minutes, even as he urged DMK leaders to discard colonial remnants. Now remember, the DMK party is based in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu, where it is currently in power. Tamil Nadu, like most part of the southern part of India, is not dominated by a Hindi-speaking majority. While the incident revealed the challenges for the bloc, it also prompted a shift in the language of subsequent speeches, with leaders opting for English to prevent further linguistic confrontations. The incident also adds a layer of complexity to the already intricate dynamics within the India alliance, underscoring the challenges of fostering unity among the diverse regional parties. And voting is underway in the Democratic Republic of Congo for the presidential and legislative elections. Now, the voting comes after a chaotic campaign that was marred by opposition allegations of electoral fraud, violence, and logistical setbacks that could prevent many from voting. Now, Congolese election disputes often spark violent unrest with potentially far-reaching consequences. The country is the world's third largest copper producer and the top producer of cobalt. Now, delays were reported in several towns in Congo's rebel-plagued east. In the capital of Kinshasa, voting materials had not arrived at polling stations and voter lists were not published. Presidential candidate Martin Fayulu, the runner-up in the disputed 2018 presidential election, called the polling a total chaos. Another presidential candidate, Nobel Peace Laureate Denis Mukwege, told journalists after voting that he was concerned about how election day was progressing. Before the vote, he had claimed that an electoral fraud of the century is taking place as he speaks.
Dans ces bureaux de vote, tout s'est passé normalement, mais nous attendons à avoir plus de nouvelles par rapport aux bureaux de vote qui sont dans les territoires où les nouvelles ne sont pas rassurantes. Mais avant ça, nous attendons d'abord en savoir plus avant de donner notre point de vue par rapport aux élections.
Meanwhile, millionaire businessman and former governor Katumbi, who is a strong challenger in the presidential race, urged his supporters to monitor the publication of results in each polling station.
Je suis venu voter et je voudrais seulement demander à la population de rester sur chaque bureau de vote parce qu'on doit surveiller le résultat jusqu'à la fin. Donc on doit dépouiller bureau de vote par bureau de vote et on doit afficher les résultats. Le seul résultat que nous allons accepter, c'est le résultat qu'on doit afficher sur chaque bureau de vote.
Let me give you a little context for those who are watching us outside of Congo. For months, the country's National Election Commission has insisted that it could deliver a free and fair vote as promised. However, independent observers and critics flagged irregularities which they said would jeopardize the legitimacy of the results. Now, the president is competing against 18 opposition challengers in the hope of securing a second term. About 44 million Congolese are registered to take part in the election. That also includes regional ballots. Provisional results are expected by December 31st. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching. I'm Ananya Datta.
WION, India's global voice.
Israel woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה.
Hostilities have broken out between Israel and Palestine, and the tensions that had been gathering steam over the course of the last several weeks and months.
The siren has gone off. I don't know if you can hear in the background what's going on. I'm going into the shelter now. So it's a very, very serious situation here across